What's happening, everybody? On today's show, it is a week 2 overreaction in the SEC as we bring you some of the questions that passionate SEC fans are asking this week. We'll also talk to our buddy Chris Marler of College Football Uncensored, and we'll start to take a look at the SEC Week 3 matchups. An early look, some good and some really soft cupcake games. Locked On SEC starts right now.
Are Locked On SEC, your daily podcast on the Southeastern Conference. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
And what is happening, everybody? Welcome into Locked On SEC. Great to have you guys along. I'm Chris Gordy. Thanks for making Locked On SEC your first listen every day. And remember, Locked On SEC is free and available on all platforms, including YouTube and at lockedonsec.com. Let's jump into it. We got a lot we have to react to, including Week 2 overreactions from some SEC fans out there. Joining us now to talk all about it is our buddy Chris Marler from the College Football Uncensored podcast. Marler, how are you 2 weeks into the college football season?
Well, we're recording this on a Tuesday, so emotionally better than I was on Saturday.
I bet. Let's jump into it. Let's start with some of our Week 2 overreactions, and we start here. Alabama barely survives a scare in Austin. Bryce Young does Bryce Young things to set them up for the game-winning field goal, but Bama fans are upset that the game was even close. They were 3 touchdown favorites. One Bama fan tweeted at wide receiver Trayshawn Holden, the whole team needs to reevaluate how they go about things. You've got to be more disciplined without a D, to be a championship team. Does Bama need to reevaluate everything, Marler?
Man, I tell you what, is this the part of the show where I start patting myself on the back emphatically? Because I've been saying this all summer long, and I said it over and over and over again. This is going to be a much tougher game than people thought. So Bama fans, see, I've said this repeatedly, and this will be my overreaction, my take from it. Okay, Bama has a lot to. I won't say be worried about, be concerned about. Georgia's the best team in the country. That's fine because it's September 12th or 13th as we're recording this. There's a lot of time left in the season. That being said, like Bama was never going to win this game, and it was never going to be, man, what a great win from Bama. It was going to be, well, they should have blown out a 5-7 team from a year ago that lost to Kansas, or oh my God, they barely beat a 5-7 team from a year ago that barely lost to. Do you see what in this picture you're showing right here? That what they're not showing here is the offensive lineman. They photoshopped it out where he's holding his arm and his leg down. That they actually photoshopped that out because Bama was holding on 87% of the plays. Bama's fine. They're going to be fine. They had 15 penalties, the most ever against a save or called on a saving team. It was a Big 12 ref crew. If you can't. Like at some point you got to give credit to Texas, and at the same time you got to give credit to Bama for going in a very, very tough environment and getting a win, no matter what we think happened or what we think about a Texas team from 2021, because this is not 2021.
Next up, Florida. They got drubbed by Kentucky at home last week. Anthony Richardson went from Heisman hopeful to super bust. Is Sunbelt Billy Napier in over his head?
First off, congrats to Miss Gordy on a hell of a win. From her alma maters. That's awesome. What was Anthony Richardson throwing to? I don't know if he's in over his head or if Anthony Richardson's over his head, because he threw two. And listen, if you're looking at the picture right here, you can also see they photoshopped another Bama player out of this holding call too. No, Anthony Richardson had some. I said this last week, and I think it probably stands true now. They're going to go as far as he will take him. Him having a bunch of bad passes, like it almost reminds me of this. And, we were talking about this off air, our Happy Gilmore references and how much we love him on different podcasts. But Anthony Richardson may be Happy Gilmore, right? Like he may be a situation where it's like, man, well, like this guy can drive it 400 yards, but he doesn't have a short game. He's also bending over using a hockey putter, which makes no damn sense at all. So, listen, requires goofy pants and a fat ass. We know this. Anthony Richardson, being a successful college quarterback, requires not throwing balls directly to a defender inside of your own 20 and a fat ass. So there you go.
Yeah, I think Richardson will be fine. There's a lot of overreaction. There was overreaction week 1. This kid's going to win the Heisman. There's
Right.
equal overreaction to week 2. This kid sucks. He can't even play in
Right.
the SEC. It's somewhere in the middle, and I think he'll get
Can I ask
better.
you a question real quick? How excited was Miss Gordy though watching this game?
She was. We were actually at the LSU Southern game, but we had our 2 iPhone chargers that were fully charged and a Verizon hotspot, so we could
Love
stream
it.
the entire game there. So then I was streaming the other games and watching around the SEC. So it was a whole thing. But
Okay.
all
Cool.
said, big win for Kentucky over the Gators. Next up, Marler, through 2 weeks, this Georgia defense is giving up less points than last year's record-setting defense. Is this Georgia defense better than last year's? Your overreaction.
Who is that? Is that a defensive player? That guy
Georgia.
is 8 feet tall, 400 pounds. No, this Georgia defense is not better. They might be statistically at the end of the year, maybe without points allowed. Listen, here's the thing: this Georgia team doesn't even play a schedule remotely as close to being difficult as the one a year ago. So maybe they do end up better. I don't know. We'll see when they don't play Samford and Bo Nix. But I think this Georgia team has showed early on. Listen, this is a team that should have been ranked number 1 to start the season. They just won the national championship in the NFL draft. They just won the national championship. They returned a buttload of talent on the offense. I don't know if the defense is going to be better, but that offense sure is, man. They look really good. Can I tell you real quick, though? This is the reaction I got from one of the Georgia fans, which was, what's the breaking point? When's the breaking point for the run game? Because the run game sucks. And I was like, the breaking point is you guys winning another effing national title on Stetson Bennett's arm. Like, who cares?
Stetson Bennett's going to throw for like 400 yards a game, and they're going to be like, what about the run game? Texas A&M lost at home to Appalachian State. The offense only scored 14 points. Should Jimbo Fisher start worrying, and should he put his Christmas tree out by the curb already?
I love that second reference. I do want to correct you on one thing. That offense did not score 14 points. That offense scored 7 points. And I think that, we had to hear about this all year, about this A&M team. So I want to make sure we give them exactly the credit they deserve. Now, happy birthday, Kip. You had a rough Saturday. It might have been an even rougher Sunday when that video came out of the yell leader. Hats off to App State, but this A&M team is bad. They're bad offensively right now. They have a lot of time to improve, but my co-host of College Football Uncensored podcast, we talk about this all the time. Tyler Huck, he says this all the time. Jimbo Fisher, when you look at the sample size, outside of 1 year, there's this on his resume every single year. Like this is who Jimbo Fisher is. It is an outdated offense. It does not look like he has anything new. They didn't have 100 yards rushing or passing in this game.
Yeah.
Against App State at home. Stadium's cool. You guys spent a lot of money on it. That's cool.
And Saban had that come to Jesus moment years ago where he had to adapt. Lane Kiffin forced him to adapt. Jimbo feels like he's got to have that come to Jesus moment. Hey, Jimbo, it's 2022. We throw the ball a lot now.
I don't know if he will have that come to Jesus, because with Saban, it was like he's the defensive mind.
Right.
He's not the offensive mind. And Jimbo, I think Jimbo is as much of a narcissist and an a-hole to think like, oh, it'll work. Just keep slamming that round peg into that square hole. We'll figure it out.
One more overreaction. Is it panic time in Columbia for old mayo-eating Shane Beamer as his team let Georgia State and Arkansas run the ball all over them? Should Beamer do another TikTok video to rebound?
That was good. What a picture. No, they're going to be fine long term. I think that this year, I'm not saying it's a wash now, but you are about to start 0-3. And this Saturday, by all means, you're going to get blown out. It's going to be hard for them to move the football. They looked, they were like a 21-point fourth quarter or something like that away from getting absolutely shellacked on national television in Arkansas. Think about what this Georgia team's going to do to them. Perfect opportunity for the run defense, maybe, because the rush offense of Georgia might not be the focal point anymore, but it also might be the recipe for disaster for a rush defense that's been getting obliterated. and then having to go up against those big uglies from Athens and all the running backs. That's also the most cliche thing I've ever said in my life with the big uglies from Athens. I hate myself right now.
All right, hold that thought. We're going to get into an early look ahead at SEC Week 3 in just a second with our buddy Chris Marler. Thank you guys for making Locked On SEC your first listen every day. And a quick reminder that BetOnline.net is your number one source for all things pro and college football betting. For all your needs throughout this football season, find all the latest football league developments, game matchups, news, podcasts, betting lines. Everything you need is for you there up at BetOnline. They're your continued source for all your sports wagering information. Fastest and easiest way to check in on all your favorite sports and events. Head on over to their website today. You can do so on your mobile device. Learn all about the trends in action. I was on BetOnline all weekend long. Wasn't a great week for me, but look, time to bounce back. It's rebound week in week 3 as a lot of these SEC betting lines are out. As we get into previewing some of the games coming up, we'll give you the BetOnline odds and lines coming up for the SEC Week 3 in just a second. But it is a reminder for you to check out BetOnline. It is BetOnline. It is where the game starts. All right, roll along here, Locked On SEC, and continuing our conversation with our buddy Chris Marler, as we do every week from the College Football Uncensored podcast. And Marler, let's start looking at some of the games this weekend. Just want to get your quick thought on some of the big ones. Let's start in the conference. We kind of touched on it a little bit already, but first up, number 1 Georgia going on the road, their first real true road trip of the season to South Carolina, who just got beat up by Arkansas a week ago. Yeah, I've not been impressed with the Gamecocks defense so far. Spencer Rattler has been just okay. Is this anything other than a Georgia beatdown of
No, it's a Georgia beatdown. It was always going to be a Georgia beatdown. It has nothing to do with the first 2 weeks. It might seem worse. Listen, Shane Beamer, Kirby Smart, I think they're friends, right?
Yeah.
All right. Well, I mean, who wouldn't want to be? so maybe he'll somewhat take it easy on him. I will say I don't see this ever being close. And honestly, when you think about what just this picture of this Georgia State linebacker is still my favorite with the damn Spaceballs helmet. No, but I think that when you look at this Georgia team, what they're able to do, especially on offense, they're going to put up points early and often. I don't think Scott Satterfield has enough at OC there for that's who's at the OC, right?
Yeah.
Okay. I don't think Satterfield has enough there where he's going to be able to mix up enough stuff to keep this defense off balance. Like Georgia has dominated South Carolina, and they have dominated them in Columbia, especially over Kirby's tenure. I know they had the loss a couple years ago. Listen, if you're a South Carolina fan, you need to ask yourself right now, would you take this kind of loss right away? Because we saw it in 2019, and God rest his soul, he didn't die, but he got cut today. Rodrigo Blankenship, who missed the game-winning field goal.
Oh, damn. Tough
They
go.
cut him, yeah. He kicked 2 balls out of bounds.
Did they sign Josh Lambo, who Urban Meyer kicked in the balls? That was who they were working out.
I have no idea. I have no idea. But no, so when you have a situation where I think where like you have that loss and then you end up going 4-8 or 3-9, whatever it is, you need to ask yourself, would you trade that in for this weekend? And I don't think South Carolina fans would. There's still a lot of season left, but you're looking up big picture. This is a massive uphill battle, and you're staring at 0-3 to come out of the gates.
And just a quick correction, as I watched Scott Satterfield coach Louisville.
I knew it.
BF on Friday at Marcus Satterfield.
Marcus Satterfield. I knew when I said it, I was like, that sounds like a Louisville head coach.
We're going to get a ton of hate mail, but that was actually a fun game to watch. Louisville against
all Satterfields look alike.
Old Gus Malzahn with John Rice Plumlee, who can't throw the football. So
no, it's tough.
That was a problem. We only have one other in-conference game this week. It's 1-1 LSU playing host to 2-0 Mississippi State. Tigers looked much better in beating up Southern this past week to get Brian Kelly his first win as LSU coach. But Mississippi State has looked pretty damn good at 2-0, wins over Memphis and at Arizona. Will Rogers throwing the ball very well. Mike Leach's squad is doing what they do. And Rogers, by the way, leads the SEC in passing, 763 yards and 9 touchdowns. State's around a 2-point favorite. This seems like a big game for LSU in terms of what kind of season is it going to be? Is it going to be a 7-8 win season? Or is it going to be a 6-6? And Mike Leach, man, year 3, this would be a monster win to start 3-0 and with a win in Death Valley.
Back-to-back wins in Death Valley would be pretty unheard of for this Mississippi State program. I'm not saying it's impossible to happen. I'm not saying it won't happen, because this is a better team all around than we're giving credit for. As much as we don't give Will Rogers enough credit for what he does with his arm, great picture. I think that we also don't give the defense enough credit for what they've been able to do. My biggest thing with LSU is, how do you keep them from scoring consistently throughout the game? How do you get a shutout, and not in the game entirely, but in one quarter? Like, how can you figure out a way to get a shutout in one quarter? You open up a 37-0 lead in the first quarter of last week's game, 51-0 at the half. You obviously won't do that against this Mississippi State team, but like, I don't think this is a do or die game for LSU. But this game, 1-2 versus 2-1 for an LSU Tigers team with Brian Kelly, especially with all the pressure from the outside that we've already seen, it's a big difference of how the rest of the season is going to go, in my opinion.
And it's a home game. It's one you should win. I know you're the technical Vegas underdog, but yeah, I mean, it's so weird. When I went back and looked at last year's game, I think LSU won like 28-25 in in Starkville. And it's almost like I feel like it should be the same recipe this year. Like, they should play ball control, keep the ball out of Will Rogers' hands. Like Jaden Daniels, they should get into like some second and third and shorts. Mm-hmm. He moves the chain with his legs, keep the chain moving, keep the clock rolling, and keep it low scoring. And I think that's how LSU can win this game, because look, you don't want to get a shootout with Mississippi State, right?
Right. No, you don't definitely want to do that. You also already shown, I know what happened at the end of that Florida State game, but you're still arguably, I mean, I don't know what happens in overtime, but like the mettle of the team has been tested already. So you've kind of already been there. I know what happened, and I know they lost. But when you're talking about an LSU team in a very talented roster, especially way more than, I think not way more, but maybe way more than Mississippi State, you have every opportunity to go win this game. If I'm betting on it, you said they're an underdog?
2-point underdog, yeah. According to
BetOnline. Death Valley at night?
5 o'clock, kind of night. It'll be night by the fourth quarter.
Trying to find my hammer. I don't know. I don't know why I would have it on my work desk, but hammer LSU.
You don't have tools. No, you don't work with your hands.
No, everyone knows I'm not man enough for that.
Saturday night, 8 p.m. ESPN. It is number 13 Miami at number 24 Texas A&M. I think Billy Lucci said on Twitter already, you will absolutely see a more inspired effort from the Aggies in this one. College game day was supposed to be there. Now they're going to Boone, North Carolina. Can the Aggies play better this week and avoid a 2-game losing streak? Because look, that 2-game losing streak can become a 3-game losing streak with a monster game against Arkansas after this one. Yeah. A&M, actually, I couldn't believe this line, Marler. They're a 5.5-point favorite.
You know what I said about 5.5-point lines?
Oof.
Okay, let me just say one thing too. And I don't know if Billy Lucci said this. Billy Lucci's a great dude. He seems like a ton of fun. Great guy. Great hair. Fantastic hair. But you brought up that he said they were going to have a much different inspired effort.
Yeah, he said they'll look much better, much different this week.
Am I allowed to cuss? Am I allowed to say, like,
just try to censor yourself?
He's not on the coaching staff, for one. Okay. 2, I saw this tweet. Maybe he made it separately too, but I did see that he made this in a response to one Noel Hottie on Twitter, who is one of my favorite follows. She's super nice. She's really knowledgeable, big Florida State fan. But when you're that deep in your feels that you're responding and coming to the defense of your shitty team that has looked like shit for the first 2 weeks of the season, in Noel Hottie's comments and her, like, get out of here, man. Like, this is the most fragile fan base I've ever seen. And I said this the other day, like, I'm sure they will have a much different team. You know why they will have a much different team, Billy? Because they lost to App State a week ago, and that's unacceptable. Maybe you don't need a different team. Maybe you need a different head coach, because you guys sat there and married, like, the carnival yard barker, like I said on our podcast the other day, that told you that, like, no, come on in here, give me $1. You can throw these rings on here. I'm not spraying Pam all over this shit the whole time. No. Jimbo Fisher is Joe Dirt with that stupid what do you call it? That whatever with that Henny that he was trying to get out of that's who they are. Is like 1,000% is they my outlaw. Joe Dirt, Jimbo Fisher's Joe Dirt.
And look, I mean, we talked about before the season, and some A&M fans were already saying, "Oh, next year's the year." When is the year going to be that A&M finally wins their side of the conference? I mean, finally, just win the SEC West. You know what I
Not
mean?
gonna happen.
Well, that's what they're paying big money for Jimbo, to hoping that it happens. We'll continue with Chris Marler here in just a quick second.
Did I say shit too much?
Continuing on with our buddy Chris Marler from Saturday Down South. If you're listening on the podcast, you just heard some commercials. If you're watching on YouTube, we just literally had like a 2-second blip where Marler said, "Am I cursing too much?" So
Sorry.
Let's get into it, Marler. There is a crap fest of games out of conference this week.
What?
We'll see if any of them intrigue you at all. But let's start. Number 20, Ole Miss is at Georgia Tech. Ole Miss is around a 16-point favorite. Still don't know who the quarterback is, which kind of gives an interesting storyline here. Is it Jackson Dart? Is it Luke Altmaier? And look, Georgia Tech, I thought, played as hard as they could against Clemson in week 1. So maybe a scrappy bunch that could cover that 16-point line. But where are you on Ole Miss right now?
Okay, so my biggest thing is this, and this is partially probably from a betting standpoint, but I think the biggest improvement and what I wanted to see most from Ole Miss was the fast start. We hear the whole thing about they score from far. I want to see them score early and often, and they did that a lot last year. I think it's a recipe for success for this Lane Kiffin team because a lot like how Tennessee is, right? When Tennessee has the football, like they're going right down the field, especially when they're on script. We saw this Ole Miss team dominate teams from the start in the non-conference slate early last season. We have not seen that this year until last week. You come out, well, it's I guess in 2 games. So in the second week, though, you come out, you start out 28-0. I thought that was a big, box checked for Ole Miss because I think that is something that's a recipe success for Kiffin. I don't see him playing from behind as well as I do seeing him play from ahead because then everything opens, right? Like then the entire playbook opens. I expect to see that this week at Georgia Tech. It'll be interesting to see the mental toughness here because you're going on the road at a 3:30 kick in a very non-hostile environment. They will have more fans from Oxford than there will be Atlanta. I wish I was going, but it's at the same time as some other good games. It's just down the street. But yeah, Bobby Dodd. This is a perfect setup for Ole Miss because you do get a road game against a Power 5 team, but it's Georgia Tech.
Yeah, and I like what we've seen out of the three-headed attack of Judkins and Zach Evans and he's Bentley. But man, figure out the quarterback. Pick one this week, Lane. I know Luke Altmaier got banged up a little bit last week. Just pick one and roll with that guy. We can't do the musical chairs as you get SEC play. I didn't even want to spend much time on this, but Vandy goes to Northern Illinois. They're 2.5-point road underdogs. I was in on Vandy at 2-0. I'm out on Vandy after they just didn't even show up against Wake Forest a week ago. Can they cover the 2.5 on the road at Northern Illinois?
They're underdogs?
Vandy, 2.5-point road underdogs at Northern Illinois. Why are you going to Northern Illinois? Who scheduled this, Clark Lee?
So they went to Hawaii and Northern Illinois. I just caught that part of it. That pisses me off.
You're an SEC team. Act like it.
Yeah, for real. This is so stupid. You just put your big boy britches on and just pretend that you belong for once. Like fake it till you make it, bro. Just be like, just for once, I want Vandy to be the $30,000 millionaire that I see in Buckhead, Georgia, all the time. That's all I really want from them to be. That being said, I think that there's like 17 of your listeners that will get that reference, but they will get it hard. That sounded weird. Anyway, so Vandy, I'll take Vandy on this. My girlfriend's dad is a proud alum of Northern Illinois and the Huskies. And I'm not far enough removed from remembering Michael the Burner Turner going for like $129 on Bama in 2003, my senior year of high school. Take Vandy, get your over, but why are they making it so difficult on themselves? Vandy's so damn hard to like.
Yeah, the defense has not been lights out. Although my guy Orgy doing his thing, as he typically does.
Heard that.
Youngstown State's at number 9, Kentucky. The only reason this is a cool storyline is because the Stoops family is from the Youngstown area. I mean, that's cool, but I hope, for Kentucky's sake, they need to just beat the snot out of them.
Or you don't. Who gives a shit? It's like, excuse my language, but like, celebrate what happened. This is the one team that I'll say don't have a 24-hour rule. Celebrate what you did a week ago. I don't think we're making like. There's 2 programs here I feel like we're not giving enough credit to, even though we're giving a ton of credit to. They're both ranked in the top 10. But Arkansas winning 2 games and being 2-0, let's not forget they had a 2-win season back-to-back years, 2018, 2019. Now you're talking about Kentucky. Kentucky just had their third win in 5 years versus Florida. They had their second win their last 3 trips out of the swamp. It took 40 years previously for them to get 3 wins versus Florida. They had 3 in the past 5. They had 3 in the previous 3. So I love that. They were celebrating by eating bacon wrapped gator, which is disgusting. But good for them. They still had the skin on that head.
Man, that's good eating down to the bayou, son. Mizzou hosts Abilene Christian. But Mizzou got drummed at Kansas State last week. I don't know anything about Abilene Christian.
40-12. I saw that score and I was looking at the box score and I was like, this is like when like a high school girls team dominates like a really shitty high school girls basketball team.
Yeah, it was not good. But Deuce Vaughn had his way on them. But time to bounce back. Again, don't know much about Abilene Christian, but get your stuff together, Eli Drinkwitz. Get this win.
Better than Abilene Mormon, am I right?
Another one is Missouri State is at number 10 Arkansas. Again, Arkansas, big, 2 tough tests the first 2 weeks, beating a ranked Cincinnati team, beating South Carolina in your house. Now you get to just take out your frustrations on Missouri State and kind of keep an eye on that A&M game because that's your next game up.
Can I give you my hot take for this game?
Yeah.
When they run through the A and they enter that field, I would put almost any amount of money on that hog, the mascot, not like Tusk, like the actual hog,
right? But
the mascot, I would bet almost any amount of money that he comes out on a motorcycle.
Oh yeah, the Bobby Petrino angle of this one. That's the only thing that anybody cares about. Is it weird that I've been hearing there's some Arkansas fans that are like, Petrino wasn't all that bad.
He wasn't.
I know he did great as a coach, but it's still the way it ended. You can't respect how it ended, right?
No, you can't respect how it ended. I still love the fact that whoever found out that he was cheating on his girlfriend, Petrino, showed up and whipped his ass. Because we all thought it was that same stupid story about the motorcycle, but then we found out he just got his ass beat. I think that's hilarious.
Yeah. Well, and wasn't he the one that left the Atlanta Falcons high and dry too? So
we've had a tough enough week here in Atlanta.
Akron is at number 15, Tennessee. A big emotional win for Tennessee last week, getting it done on the road. Akron probably not going to put up much of a fight, but Vols look good, man. And Vols won a game with defense. That has not happened in a long time. Yeah,
well, and it's amazing too because you didn't hear any storylines about how they were knocked out a starting quarterback, and that's the only reason which is different than what you heard from other places that have a similar logo and single letter design. No, I thought it's a great win. The most impressive part to me, and I said this earlier on our podcast, was I want to say we, but I don't want to speak for everyone like other people on the website that I work for does, and say that when Tennessee comes out, we kind of have this idea in our head, all right, well, they have to get out to an early start to have a chance with some of these teams. And you go on the road against a ranked team with Pitt, you start in a 10-0 hole, and then you dig out of that, and then you are still able to win and win with your defense, like you said. I thought it was really, really impressive.
South Florida is at number 18, Florida. I know it's a weird, but bounce back spot for Anthony Richardson and company, right?
Yeah, isn't that where he had a huge? Excuse my yawn here as we talk about the South Florida Bulls. Isn't that where he had a massive game last year in very limited action? Yeah, what's the line?
I haven't seen. A lot of these games don't have lines. I would think it's. Where would you put it? I would guess somewhere 18 to 20.
If it's 18 to 20, hammer Florida. Hammer Florida. Listen, BYU went to these people.
I could be completely off on that.
No, I would expect to be in around 27 to 30 range. But I could be, and I hope I'm wrong because I would love to hammer Florida.
Richardson a week ago. Come on.
But you see, this is a terrible, terrible football team. And I remember wanting to jump on this because they were only a 10.5 point underdog to BYU in week 1, and they actually dropped from I think right before game time, and they were down 21-0 6 minutes in. This is a bad team. This is a perfect get back game for Florida.
Jeff Scott, the head coach at UCF, their former Clemson OC, I believe. Yeah. All right, last one, the monster one, Marler. The 2007 revenge game, Louisiana going to take on the number 2 Alabama Tide. There is a revenge factor here for Nick Saban.
I hate you. I hate so much of what you choose to be. To quote The Office, God, what a miserable day. I will never forget working at Reynolds Landing up near Reynolds Plantation where Dan Mullen's son is playing high school football at. And
you worked on the plantation? That's cool.
I just kept sitting there looking at the score at the bottom line because I was like, I can work today. It's a Saturday, which sucks. But I mean, like, Bama's going to beat Louisiana Monroe. And then I'm like looking at the bottom and I'm like texting my dad. I'm like, what is going on? We were still talking then. And I was like, what is going on here? And he's like, we're going to lose. And I was like, how is this possible? So yeah, this is just don't get you back. Like I would take a 1-point win over losing. I don't care how that sounds. If it meant they come out like uninjured, I would probably take a 1-point win just because I feel like this school, it's Terry Bowden who ruined a lot of Novembers in my childhood. Yeah. And I just, oh my God, it'll be interesting to see him on the sidelines and just if you can spot him because he is roughly 3 feet and 9 inches tall.
This is a Milroe game, right? This is a get Bryce Young out of the game as quickly as possible. And
I wouldn't even play Will Anderson because he ain't performing.
Oh, I was going to say, if it's more like he hadn't even been playing the first 2 weeks, Will Anderson. Well,
he blocks that kick, and then he has like.
Other than lining up off sides, what's the matter with you?
More like Will and lined up in the neutral zone every single damn time.
He's already focused on the draft. His head's already in the NFL.
Wait, are we not going to talk about Auburn, Penn State?
Oh, wait. Yeah, I had that on I skipped over it.
What a dick.
Let's jump into it. Auburn, Penn State. It's a big one. I mean, I was actually digging through the numbers, Marler. The Sean Clifford, been a really good quarterback. He had a really good game against Auburn last year. Auburn's got a good run game. They are 4th in the SEC in rushing right now. They're ahead of Alabama in rushing yards per game. The defense, I think, has played pretty well, albeit you played Mercer and San Jose State. But, my God, what is going on with TJ Finley and, some Robbie Ashford, but the quarterback spot for Auburn? What is going on?
Robbie Ashford's going to be your starting quarterback at some point during the season, just bottom line.
Wow.
TJ Finley just does not have it. I will say this. I think if you're Brian Harsin, you have every opportunity, and you've had every opportunity over the first two. Put your damn knee pads on, son. What are we doing here in this picture? But there were Auburn fans talking before this game during the season about San Jose State, how they were more worried about that game than Penn State, and that's dumb, right? That's absolutely dumb. But at the same time, I think that this Auburn team is made for this game way more than we saw last week against San Jose State. I think you're going to see a Brian Harsin team that's going to come out. They're going to open things up finally. And I think that's a guy that you've got to play things close to the vest because as you saw a year ago, it doesn't matter if you win. They won their first 2 games 121-0 combined. It doesn't matter what you do early in those games where everyone thinks you should win, especially with how rabid this fan base has been and the boosters have been up his ass. So I will say that going in against Penn State, you got a Big Ten team coming down the SEC. You have a chance to put on for the entire conference. Crank up some Jeezy, put on for your city. Love all of it. I think that Auburn will win this game. I think Auburn will win this game by 10 points.
Wow.
I hate everything I just said. Besides the Jeezy part. That part was fun.
Penn State right now, BetOnline's got Penn State is a 3-point road favorite.
Love it.
Number 22 Penn State coming to Auburn. I think, and look, I'll make some predictions later in the week, but this is a game where I think Jordan Hare is going to bring it, and this Auburn team is going to play inspired football because of the crowd, because of the atmosphere. And Finley just don't make any mistakes. He's had a handful of interceptions already. If they don't turn the ball over, they protect it. Defense gets them a turnover or two. But Sean Clifford scares me, man. He's a good quarterback.
Yeah, he already won that one game when he had diarrhea. So what can you do against Auburn? But I will say this too, like you will see a package for Robbie Ashford in this game.
Oh yeah,
no matter what, and it'll be early on. And if they come out with those orange jerseys, whew.
And just don't. Did you see Robbie Ashford was 1 for 1 or 1 for 2 with 1 yard and an interception last week? That was his passing line. Like what? 1 for 2, 1 yard, 1 interception. How does that happen?
So bad. So Zach Calzada's just sitting there on the bench like, what the is going on? A&M lost.
The former A&M quarterback is sitting at Auburn going WTF. The former LSU quarterback Max Johnson sitting at A&M going WTF. Like, can we get these guys into the game, please?
Yeah, at some point you have to. You have to for sure.
All right, my apologies to Auburn fans. I had that down at the bottom of my list as the game of the week that I wanted to preview, but I got sidetracked with ULM Alabama, which is a much bigger game. Chris Marler from the College Football Uncensored podcast. Thanks so much, man. We'll do it again next week.
Yeah, man. I look forward to it every week. I appreciate you having me on.
All right, that is going to do it for this edition of Locked On SEC. Remember to subscribe and check us out wherever you get your podcasts. We'll talk to you guys tomorrow right here on Locked On SEC.